Welcome to the Disruptive Innovation Festival. Today we're talking about cities in transition, and so our topic for today is Edinburgh and how we're looking at the transition programme for Edinburgh, the transformation programme, and also how that links into circular economy. So I'm Stephanie O'Gorman, Director of Sustainable Economics at Jacobs, and so I worked with Cheryl over the last year or so on the circular economy opportunities assessment for Edinburgh, but also currently working with Daisy on the city centre transformation plan. So I come to this discussion with some live experience, I guess. Cheryl?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Cheryl and I work for an organisation called Zero Waste Scotland. We're funded by the Scottish Government and European Regional Development Fund, and a lot of our work is focused on that transition to a circular economy in Scotland. As you said, we've been working on the projects in Edinburgh, looking at what are the circular economy opportunities for the city and doing a lot of engagement with the business community. We've got a project called Circular Edinburgh that's been led by the Chamber of Commerce in the city. And my particular role within Zero Waste Scotland is about working with cities and regions across Scotland and a similar approach. What does circular economy mean for them at a local level, and how can we support them to embed circularity at a local level?
Great. And Daisy?
I'm Daisy Narayanan. I'm the Deputy Director of Sustrans Scotland, which is a charity that makes it easier for people to walk and cycle. It's a national charity, UK-wide, but in Scotland we're about 100 people. Since April this year, I've been seconded to City of Edinburgh Council to lead this hugely exciting project called City Centre Transformation. And it's a project that's looking to give our spaces in Edinburgh back to people. Looking at public realm, looking at how we move people, move goods to the city, but most importantly, looking at equality with people in place. I'm really excited about this discussion because circular economy plays such a big part in how we manage the city and city centre.
Cheryl, do you want to start with where the report is and where the opportunities work with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken a bit of a two-stage approach with the project in Edinburgh. So the first stage was research, really, to sort of say what are the key opportunities for the city. So we really wanted to tailor it to the Edinburgh economy, what was happening in Edinburgh. So we looked at, the economic growth areas. We looked at what's the political will. So we looked at trying to align a circular economy with other policy and strategic documents. So, the vision for the city, the Sustainable Energy Action Plan, the economy strategy, just so that again, it's really embedded and there'll be this legacy of circular economy. This isn't just something we want to dip in and dip back out of. So that report is due to be published very shortly, and it'll be available on Zero Waste Scotland website and the council website if people are interested in looking at it. I identified 5 key opportunities across a number of sectors, and they really reflect Edinburgh's economy. So, for example, one of the opportunities was around festivals. So Edinburgh having 12 major festivals across the year, so there's loads of opportunities there, really exciting, and I can expand on that a little bit later. Other opportunities around facilities management and also ICT and data infrastructure, and they're both kind of acknowledging the fact that Edinburgh is a big centre for finance and so on. There's lots of offices, lots of corporate businesses, so all the kind of infrastructure that comes along with that.
And also, as part of the city deal, a £300 million investment in data-driven innovation, which Edinburgh now has, and that would be a huge opportunity to use that parts of that funding to leverage some of these opportunities.
Absolutely. And then the kind of other opportunity we're looking at is around alcohol byproducts. So there's a number of distilleries and breweries in Edinburgh, so again, lots of opportunities there. And the final one is a bit more strategic, and it's acknowledging the fact that in Edinburgh there's 4 universities, so there's a really strong academic base there. So we're looking at this idea of a circular economy knowledge hub, so we kind of pull together businesses with academia and how that can really focus on local challenges for the sort of city and the surrounding area. And again, it'll have that lasting legacy, something that can evolve and maybe incubate and support start-up businesses and community projects.
Yeah, it's interesting picking up on the word legacy that you used, and I think that's that plays very much into the work that we're doing with the city centre transformation, because this isn't a project that can be delivered overnight. It is something that we're looking. Edinburgh is a growing city, and we have to ensure that whatever direction we take, leaves a legacy for future generations. So it's interesting that across the board, that's the kind of strategic nature of what we have, what we're aiming to achieve as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is really important. It's about making a resilient and a city of the future, and that idea of a city in transition, I think there's, given population change globally and given the climate change challenges and everything else, most cities are in transition, let's be honest. We're seeing huge population influxes into our urban environment. And so for us in Edinburgh, it's really about seeing where that end point is and what the ultimate goal is for us.
And also prioritising, what is it, where do we see ourselves in the next, by 2040 there's going to be, our population in Edinburgh is going to grow 17% to 600,000. 100,000 people extra. So we need to be resilient. We need to make sure that our infrastructure can cope with that. We need to make sure that the way the trends that we see now with retail, with businesses, we're starting to capture some of that and make sure that we're starting to prepare ourselves for what's coming. But it's interesting also. It's also stepping back to see, that by what do we mean by transformation? What are we transforming from, transforming to? And I think there's a very interesting piece of work we did in spring this year. We worked with over 200 stakeholders to start to identify what the challenges were, what the opportunities are. Edinburgh is so beautiful. We are so lucky with the built heritage we have and the natural heritage we have. But we also have issues with pollution, with congestion, with festivals. You mentioned festivals. So are we coping? We need to start coping better as a city. How we manage our events better. So, and also the whole issue around health and well-being and all of that. So I think what this project is trying to do is transform not just our public realm, not just the way we use our streets. It's not just about transport, but using transport as an enabler for business, for economy, for quality of life and quality of place.
For inclusion.
For inclusion. I think equality is, both the political leadership in Edinburgh and the civic leadership are very clear that this project has to be about people and it has to have equalities at its heart. And I think that starts to then address some of the tensions that come out, that have been coming out in terms of how people use the spaces within Edinburgh. So it's an exciting time. In terms of where we are at now, we've had we're quite early on in exploring how this project can be taken forward. Again, very, very keen to ensure that it's a collaborative process. This is a project that has to be shaped by multiple voices.
And behaviour change. And a huge part of this, both from an Edinburgh City Centre transformation and a circular economy more broadly perspective, is about behaviour change. It's about recognising those opportunities and really taking them. And I think the behaviour change, to get people to really benefit, we need to see those behaviours change going forward, and that would be key.
And it's interesting, I think, as well, to see what the drivers for the behaviour change are, because a lot of our work's with businesses, so it does tend to be,
cash.
Yes, but it's different. We've got some community projects. We've got Zero Waste Edinburgh and Zero Waste Leith, for example, so they're more community focused, and they look at, say, litter and fly tipping and reuse and repair workshops, and so it's more about that kind of community benefits and volunteering opportunities and so on. So they're driven by different things. So I think behaviour change is key, but it's interesting that the drivers are so different depending on who you're speaking to, and it's how we acknowledge that and kind of feed that into these projects as well.
For a project like this, what I've said to partners and whoever I speak to is use this as a test. It's a laboratory. Let's come and test things out. This, to me, this is, as I said, it's a long-term vision. So you've got a 1-year plan, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan, exactly. And let's try things out. Let's see what works. And if something doesn't work, let's change it. And there's an opportunity here.
And I think given the festival economy, the 12 festivals,
exactly.
the residents are kind of used to that. So people are used to change. Now they might not like it a lot, but actually if we can plan that change and
better manage it.
And explain to people why the change is required. I think historically what we haven't been great at is giving them the why. So if we can get better at the why, then actually people can accept that change and mold to it quite easily. And you're right, just try it and it'll work. Take it.
And I think people forget with innovation and pilots, they don't have to always be successful. We want to go and try some of these things, and if there is this massive backlash or it just doesn't stack up financially, or there's some of them that we didn't think of, that's okay. At least we've tried it and we've learned from that, and then we find it a different route. And I think especially with circular economy, some of the ideas are still so new and very innovative but untested. And I think in Scotland in particular, we're in a very fortunate position that we have support, we have funding, so we can try some of these ideas. If they work, great, we'll capture the learnings and share it nationally and globally. And if they don't work, again, we learn from that and move on. Even with our business engagement activity, so we're doing that in a number of cities across Scotland. So they don't just want these groups to operate in a silo. Let's all get together and see what's worked, what hasn't. The behaviour change and the messaging, what works, what hasn't.
There's an interesting article today in today's BBC News, I think, about young people being forced into car dependency because of the way housing is designed in certain places. So they don't have pavements, or they're not built with adequate infrastructure to allow for people to walk and cycle. And I think that's why in Scotland we are so, the planning system is looking at an infrastructure first approach, and the planning bill that's being reformed. So much that's already happening at the policy level, and see that on the ground.
And I mean, given across the UK the housing crisis is as big as it is. It's I was at a planning conference years ago, but my huge bugbear was why have we not changed how we build houses? Why are we still building estates the way we built them 50 years ago? Well, how is that? Like, how have we not evolved? We've evolved how we live, so how has that structure of those environments not changed? We like winding streets. I mean, that's a waste of energy and also space, just to make something look not straight. But, so how do we evolve that? And it's linked to that, or in early. The design principles we need to design in the change that we want. And I think that's where we need to get to, that it becomes inherent as designing in bit.
And as you say, then the benefits, it's less about the financial side of things, so it is about the community benefits and jobs and the sense of well-being, and then the benefit will be felt in the economy because you've got more people working and so on. But so it's that more holistic picture,
social value.
Which I think we sometimes forget about when we talk about circular economy, because we are so focused still on the return on investment or the
energy saving
and energy saving, and we forget the social benefits as well.
Because they need to be cumulative. It's harder to measure them at a very individual level. You need to look at that cumulatively.
They might take longer to be felt and so on.
And the people who receive those benefits are different as well. So it's always that challenge about saying, well, the investment is delivered by these people, but the benefit is delivered by these, to these people. So that's always a challenge in how we make that all work together. And that's why policymakers are so important in that equation, because they are the ones that can support some of those drivers, provide those drivers.
And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's about the narrative as well. So as you said, the narrative has been focused on business, I suppose, and in Edinburgh, the narrative has been focused for so long on transport. Some of the issues that are coming from transport. Whereas if we lift that up, and what is it about? It's about people, and it's about place. Whether it's for the work that you're doing, whether it's for how we move in the city, move goods, move people around. It's about people, and I think if we get that narrative, and if we get that story about the well-being aspect and health and physical health, mental well-being interwoven into all of this, then it becomes more real.
And it's about people understanding that actually people are the priority, not the business or the So it's that message about where that priority sits.
They're there to provide a good service, but I think you talked earlier about retail changing as well, and there are more sharing economy models and so on, which are much more people focused, and again they cross a lot of different agendas, because there's food, particularly is a good example of sharing economy and food poverty and so on, but then reducing food waste, so it's ticking lots of boxes, isn't it? I think a lot of this cuts across, but it's pulling it all together.
It's an interesting one with food, because we were talking earlier about, I come from India, and there's, for the past over 100 years, 120 years or something, there's a system that's run called the tiffin, dabawala, where families cook food and then they send hot food in these steel containers, and there's 300,000 trips that are taken across the city in the mornings to deliver this, and then back to deliver the empty containers back. And it's such an interesting way of community cohesion, B, reduction of food waste, and keeping it local, packaging, keeping food local, the health impacts, the benefits that come with that. It's really interesting to see how, at a very local level, what's happening globally.
And a key bit for us now in the transformation plan is that learning, global learning. So either in Scotland or the UK or other global cities, about where we can see things like that and say, that could work. Why don't we do that? And how do we put all those bits together? But not just the thing that they've done, but how they've achieved it.
The process.
The process is so important, because it's easier to find the things because you can see a city like Copenhagen that has outcomes that we're trying to achieve, and they've put in extensive cycleways, for instance. But how did they get to that point? Where did their permission come from? How did they capitalise? Where did they get the investment? So there's a huge amount of learning from other cities about the process of transition, which would be really important for us.
That is, and I say this when I speak about the project, that transformation, that word is quite heavy on my shoulders. You can imagine that transformation is not just what happens at the end, it's the process. We have to transform how we deliver such visions and projects and ideas. And it's exactly
how we plan the city.
And it's back to collaboration again, which we keep talking about, and I like that example as well, because it's the very local, because people are proud of their city, and they care about their city, and even their community within that city and so on, and I think that's again where I think we can play on that when we're talking about circular economy, because it's let's keep your resources here, and let's go down the street and get something repaired, learn how to repair it yourself, things like that. Go and borrow something from your neighbour, share that leftover food with someone, and so on. So the resources are really being kept there and getting the use out of them.
We've talked a lot about where we are currently, and also the challenges that we think exist. In terms of where we want to be, do we want to just have a quick chat about where we see those outcomes or those kind of end games are for us, both from a general circular economy perspective, how Scotland is moving, but also how we integrate that and where we see the transformation, what 2030 looks like.
2050.
2050.
It's not that long. But I suppose from a circular economy perspective, I think initially in the sort of shorter term, we want to keep that golden thread, if you like, to say we've done this piece of research and we understand what the key opportunities are. So we really want to focus on them and have some exemplars, if you like, because then it's like we've talked about capturing the learnings and start to inspire other city stakeholders, businesses, communities, and so on. So I think in the short term, we really want to focus on those. And longer term, again, some of the things we've touched on, I think procurement, very important, particularly public sector in the city. So it's great that there's commitments to circular economy in the economy strategy, and it's kind of peppered throughout other kind of policies and strategies as well. So just, again, capitalising on those and, making sure that it's been driven through leadership and through action, if you like, and really, again, that it's embedded, across everything that's happening in the city, and that we're joining up with, activity in other areas as well.
And it sounds very linked.
Well, it's an interesting one, because in Edinburgh there's a piece of work that sits above the strategy piece that we're working on, called Edinburgh 2050 Vision, which is it's not council-led, but it's a city vision. So there's other partners of the city, businesses included, who are working on that. And some of the threads that are coming from that are quite clear. People are talking about a greener city. So 2050, we want to see a greener city. We want to see more walking and cycling, less car dependency. So, there's some threads that are coming out quite clearly. There's the 4 themes: there's inclusive, fair, connected, and inspiring. Which I think is where we need to be. And as you said, it needs to be so mainstream that you don't even have to think about it. Do we even need to have a budget for cycling? But then it should just be part of what we do. And I think for me, personally, I'm really worried. I think about it a lot. The report that came last week with 1.5 degrees climate change. We've got 12 years to change our behaviours, and I think the work that you're doing and with the transformation, the urgency has never been more than it is now. And I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and this is it's their city, it's their life that we're designing now. So we have to get it right. So 2050, hopefully we're all still here. And I think the work that's going on to make that happen is incredible.
Well, brilliant, ladies. Thank you very much. I think that was a really interesting whistle stop, maybe, but through where we are in Edinburgh and how far we've got and how far we have to go, but real opportunity, and I think an exemplar for other cities in terms of how we can take this agenda forward. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the diff, and that's us. Thank you.